Hi everyone, Gnev here. While we all love WoW's colorful quests and zones, what are the things you remember the most about the game? Is it the 8 gnolls you had to kill in front of Hogger, or is it Hogger himself? Is it the small drakes in front of Sindragosa, or is it Sindra herself? Suffice to say, we all love killing bosses. And Wrath of the Lich King, even with the expansion's reputation of being fairly easy, had some of the bosses that stood undefeated for the longest time. It was also in Wrath where Blizzard implemented heroic and hard mode for most of the game's bosses, so it's no surprise that we'll find some badass fights here. So without further ado, let's begin with number 5, the Faction Champions. The first boss to resemble a PvP battleground, the champions caused more pugs to disband than any other boss in the game. The true difficulty of the fight lies in organizing 25 people so everyone attacks the same target and crowd controls as well as interrupts their target. This in pugs is almost impossible. If you're playing a squishy class, it's also really easy for you to get one-shot by either of the champions, so you'll always have to keep your distance, or just do what I do and die in the first minute, and then let your team pick up your slack. A logistical nightmare with a big emphasis on individual skill, the champions earn my number 5 spot. Next we have one of my favorite bosses, which is unfortunately found in one of the worst raids of all time. I'm talking of course about Halion, the Twilight Destroyer. Halion is the last boss in Wrath, and with that he drops some of the strongest items in the expansion. Why fighting him is so challenging is because of the sheer complexity of the fight. You start in the physical world, where he constantly hits even best-in-slot tanks and drops meteors on the raid from which, on heroic at least, a bunch of flaming ads come out. If you make it through that hell, which not a lot of guilds do, you click on the portal to enter the Shadow Realm. And in there, it's not only the tank that takes absurd amount of damage, but also the whole raid, which your healers then need to work with while avoiding lasers that one-shot everyone who touches them. Finally, after bringing the boss to 50%, you have to split your raid into 2 teams, where each fights their version of the boss, and where you have to keep your DPS balanced in both groups, so you don't kill the tanks in the opposite corporeality. Did I forget to mention that a random person gets a debuff every 30 seconds, which can wipe your raid if not dealt with properly? Truly a challenging fight, where a single weak link can cause everyone's downfall. Halion earns our number 4 spot. The first raid to introduce hard mode to most of its bosses, one of the best liked raids of all time, Ulduar, was way ahead of its time. And while almost every hard mode boss is challenging, our number 3 spot goes to Algalon the Observer. Just to get to him, you have to go through a questline which involves killing the 4 keepers, those being Hodir, Freya, Kologarn and Mimiron, on hard mode. And only after defeating them you're awarded with just 1 hour to fight the boss before the arena doors close up until next week. It's all worth it, however, as fighting Algalon in his arena is the most stunning visual experience in the game. He's not just a pretty face though, as he, like Halion, hits like a truck. And also he has a raid wipe mechanic in Big Bang that needs to be handled by either a Shadow Priest with Dispersion or an off-tank with a shitload of defensive cooldowns. Algalon originally took 33 days to kill, and even though the sheer difficulty of getting to him would have gotten him on the list, the boss himself slaps, which is why he lands on the number 3 spot. we finally get to ICC. And the most difficult boss in it, which is of course Festergath. Nah, you knew it was coming. This boss really needs no introduction. The fight with the Lich King itself is a great challenge, where again a single mistake in a badly placed defile can wipe the whole raid. Your DPS for this fight really needs to be on point, as the Valkyries will carry off your raid mates otherwise. The biggest challenge in this fight, however, in my opinion, is just the plain size of Arthas' health bar. Even in the late game guilds where I've raided, where we were all geared to our teeth, the fight still routinely took 15 minutes, giving us more opportunities to fuck up with each second. I think I'll always remember the feeling of killing heroic Lich King for the first time after trying for months with my first guild, which is why he earns my number 2 spot. Now what we've all been waiting for, our number 1 spot goes to Yogg-Saron, or more specifically Zero Light Yogg. The last boss in Ulduar, you usually face Yogg with 4 of the keepers mentioned in the Algalon segment. Each of them gave a significant buff, with Freya even resetting your sanity. The fight, even with the keepers, was extremely challenging, so imagine how difficult it must have been without them. It was actually so difficult that it took the 3rd longest time to kill out of all the bosses since the game's release in 2004, only being toppled by Uro and Khatoon in vanilla, when people really didn't know what they were doing. One of the best and most difficult fights ever in the game's long history, Yogg earns my number 1 spot. Did you agree with the list? What bosses do you think are most difficult? Please like the video if you liked it and subscribe if you'd like to see similar ones in the future. I'll also be starting my Twitch stream the day this video goes out, so come tune in and let's enjoy the game together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.